I think Izzy's going to come back. He says the middleweight division is boring without him. He says he's here to insert some entertainment and make the middleweight division great again, okay? But will he beat Nassourdine Imavov? I will say this. More than likely, Israel Adesanya gets a decision. I think he uses the jab. I think he lowers his base. I think he's probably pissed off and a little bit embarrassed. Israel Adesanya, when you're the champion of the world, when you're defending the belt so many times, and you literally think your shit don't stink and you can beat everybody, you do get a little bit embarrassed. Your pride takes a hit when you lose 3 out of the last 4. And you see the middleweight division moving along without you. That's the part that really hurts. That's the part that feels like a knife in your chest. You're like, God damn. Well, I'm going to show everybody. I'm going to prove my point. I'm going to put a beat down on Nassourdine Imavov.
It's so hard for me to bet against Adesanya in just about any matchup. I think his spacing is his control of the space, the way he utilizes his counters, his aggressive fighting, his pressure with his length. His feints make him very hard to take down. And if you're not taking him down, you're having like a long night in the office, okay? Now, understandably, he lost against Dricus last fight, but I think he turned up phenomenally for that fight. I think his striking was on point, crystal clear. Dricus is just tough as shit, dude. Like, yeah, man, he's tough as hell, okay? And, honestly, in the round that he beat Izzy in, I thought he was going to die at the beginning of it. You know what I mean? He's a special dude, man. He's got such a unique style. So I don't think it's too much of a negative for Adesanya. If we see that Adesanya turn up against Imavov, I think we see a very it's going to be a good night for him in the office.
Kia ora e te iwi no mai hoki mai ki UFC on Sky for what will be a huge UFC Fight Night this weekend. We are looking into it, of course. My co-host Dan Hooker, kia ora e hoa.
Well, we're standing this week, so I want a pay rise if I'm being honest. My legs are tired from training.
Exposed.
Go straight for the gym.
Well, look, we're in the Studio One. We're in the big room today, and rightfully so, because this fight card behind us, Israel Adesanya is back, facing Nassourdine Imavov. And last week we were in the gym to speak to Izzy and a couple of the other boys, but you were there on Sunday for his last training before he headed off to Saudi Arabia. So give us perhaps a little bit of insight into the spirit, the vibe, and the send-off that the gym might have given him.
Yeah, it was absolutely steaming on Sunday, and he looks incredible coming into this one. Like, he's lost a lot of that muscle weight, and he's got that speed back and that timing back, which is what we know and love about Israel. Is he's realistically like a volume fighter. He pressures guys, he stays on them, puts a lot of volume on them, not only with his feinting and stuff, but just touching them. He's so sharp on the feet, and that's back. It looks like Israel of the past in terms of his volume and his conditioning. He's ticking all the boxes. He's looking incredible. He's really turned on the last couple of weeks. So I'm expecting big things from this fight.
Nice. I think Eugene called it vintage Israel. He
vintage.
Goes, he needs vintage Israel.
Our striking coach Twist called him the skinny man is back.
the skinny scary guy is back, yeah, for sure. But how was that last training session? And do you ever have any words with him before he jets off?
Oh, usually I'll just get under his skin, or if he needs a bit of a push, I'll get under his skin and kind of push him and irritate him and stuff like that. But there was no need for it this camp. He was really switched on. He's taken things to the next level. He said himself, like, he's he's 35 years, he's not getting any younger, so he's ticking all the boxes now. Like, when he was champion, like, he'd go out, have a good time, this and that. But obviously as you age, he's doing all the right things. He's ice baths, he's doing his breathing, he's doing all his recovery. So he's ticking all the boxes. Nutrition, the guy used to live off McDonald's and as a champion and stuff like that, but he's really taking things serious. He's got a full-time chef living with him at his house, so his nutrition's back. So he's really just stepped up to the plate this fight camp, and he's looking incredible.
And that goes to show the magnitude of this fight, right? And what this really does mean for Israel. We were talking off camera about a win here for Izzy, puts him back in the title talks. Not that I really think he wasn't in them, but this would perhaps solidify that chance for him to get back to the top.
Yeah, well, it was the UFC that brought this fight to the table, but definitely if Israel gets past, we know he's one of the biggest draw cards and biggest personalities in the UFC. He's been one of the UFC's biggest stars consistently for the last few years. So you'd think with a win here, especially an impressive win, we'd see him right back up there fighting for the title. You know, there's only him with a win and Hamzat floating around. So it would really just come down to where the show was. If it was the next middleweight title was in Australia, or the next middleweight title was competed in America, you'd have to think that Israel would be the guy competing for the winner versus Dricus and Strickland.
Another huge talking point for this fight is the fact that it is a UFC Fight Night. And this will be Izzy's 18th fight, I believe. And in all those fights, he's only ever competed on one. And that was way back when it used to be called UFC on Fox. It wasn't even a UFC Fight Night back then. You've headlined big fight nights and you've been on some of the biggest pay-per-views. What is the difference in environment from being headlining a UFC Fight Night to a pay-per-view perhaps?
I'd say more just the attention around it, more just you've got so many more journalists, so much more like fan involvement, fighting in the big international fight weeks there in Las Vegas. Obviously the attention surrounding the event is a lot bigger, but when you have Israel Adesanya on the card, like all of that attention is there as well. I'd say the Saudi Arabia, someone in Saudi Arabia is lining Israel's pockets to get him over there. That's my guess. To have him not fighting on a pay-per-view. So I think he's being compensated quite well for this fight, to have him over there and to fight for the Saudi fans.
Absolutely. And look, Izzy did touch on that with us last week when we spoke with him at City Kickboxing. Here is a little recap on what he told us ahead of this huge fight at UFC Fight Night in Saudi Arabia.
Preparation has been good. By the time this is all said and done, it'll be like a, to be honest, 15, 16 week camp, but blocks. And yeah, building blocks, we're ready to roll. I like a new body, new, fresh opponent. And again, without the added pressure, there's gonna be pressure I put on myself and whatnot, but the added pressure of having a belt on the line. So I kind of want to just try some new shit on this one, just because I'm just like, I really don't care. Like, win or lose, I'm gonna go in there and do my best. And yeah, when I do my best, we all know what happens. Okay, I'll give you a little secret. There's a certain mentality when you're undefeated, you're killing everyone. And then when you've had like, you know, one loss, another loss, and it's in two different styles, and you're like, okay, at least the worst part's over in my head. Now I can just like, who cares? I don't care. I just enjoy this fight. It's gonna be fun. Like, all this is fun, talking, whatnot, but the fun part of this fight, because I don't think Imavov's gonna say anything. He seems pretty cool, pretty respectful. So yeah, fun part's gonna be in the cage. And he's a stand-up guy, so first person to shoot's a bitch. Nah, I'm joking.
Like, where do you find this fight gets you? There's obviously the title's on the line in Sydney. You think of the win over Imavov, especially an impressive win, that you find yourself back fighting for a title in your next fight.
Yeah, with the spectacular win in Saudi, but I haven't really thought that far ahead. Yeah, I haven't thought that far ahead, but I think it'll involve maybe the winner or the loser of that fight. But again, I'm just focused on Imavov. That's all I've focused on this whole camp. Nothing else, just Nassourdine Imavov.
So Dan, let's now start talking about his opponent, Nassourdine Imavov. He's number 5 in the division. He had 3 big wins last year against top 10 guys in the middleweight division, which has warranted this shot against Israel. Your thoughts on this matchup, just in terms of the magnitude of this fight for him, because there's one thing to face the top 10 guys, it's another to face Israel Adesanya, I think.
Yeah, it's part and parcel of the sport. You take a couple of losses and then you have to fight one of these hungry young contenders, and that's exactly what Imavov is he's a hungry young contender waiting for his chance at a shot at Israel Adesanya. Like, he would have been studying this guy for years. That's part of being the champion, and such a long reigning champion as Israel, is that you have everyone underneath you thinking about fighting you for the next few years. But as the champion, you're just taking the next fight you get, So you only have 3 or 4 months to prepare for the next contender, whereas the contenders have been thinking about fighting you for years. And I bet Imavov's been thinking about how he would approach this fight for the last few years.
Absolutely, and I had the pleasure of catching up with Imavov once he landed in Saudi Arabia. So here are his thoughts ahead of the biggest fight of his UFC career. Well, at the Iwi, joining me now from Saudi Arabia is the man that will be coming up against Israel Adesanya in Saudi Arabia, Nassourdine Imavov. Nassourdine, welcome to the show. It's lovely to have you.
Thank you.
First of all, I know that you've had such a very impressive 2024 with 3 wins in the top 3 of the middleweight division. How best prepared does that put you for this position with Israel Adesanya?
Comment est-ce que ça m'a préparé? J'ai eu cette année-là, j'ai pris beaucoup d'expérience.
Yeah, because I did 3 fights this year, prepared me very well for this fight, especially because I did 2 fights in 5-minute rounds with a great opposition. So prepare me very well to be here for this fight.
And this fight against Israel will be 4 fights in 1 year, in 1 working year. So how much does that help you to stay active to get ready for a big fight like this?
Oui, bien sûr. Je pense que c'est important pour chaque athlète de rester actif, de pas trop.
I really think it's important for every fighter to stay active. It helps you progress better. So that's a choice we made with the team.
Yes, and top tier opponents as well. There's a criticism that you're not as seasoned as Israel Adesanya for this fight, but you have fought the likes of Sean Strickland, Jared Cannonier, even Brendan Allen, who's coming through as well. So what do you say to those people who think that you aren't ready for this fight?
Je pense que c'est le moment parfait. Au contraire, c'est bon.
I think it's just the perfect moment. I can feel that I gained a lot of experience since the fight with Sean Strickland, which was almost 2 years ago. And now I'm ready to fight against Israel Adesanya.
What was your reaction when this name came across as a potential opponent for your next fight?
I was very happy. That was a very good surprise. We were in FaceTime with the cell phone, so we were all laughing. And what we did, we posted the photo of us laughing on Instagram then. So yeah, that was a very happy moment.
Absolutely. Well, when you made your debut in 2020, Israel Adesanya was at the highest of highs in the middleweight division. So how long have you thought to yourself, you know what, one day I'm going to fight him?
Ça fait combien de temps je me dis ça? C'était dès mes débuts.
I would say since the beginning of my fighting career, even before I was in the UFC, I was sometimes talking about this fight with some friend of mine. And right now, some of them remember that, and we talk about it and laugh about it. So it's been a very long time.
It's nice to see. It's nice when a goal comes together, right? That you've worked so hard for something and you finally get to do it.
It's incredible. It's what happened to me right now. It's like all I've been working for years is now happening. So yeah, it's the result of a lot of work, but an incredible moment.
Look, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the fighters that are coming out of France at the moment. We have a French fighter here in New Zealand, Kevin Doucet, who will be fighting in Sydney as well. But the fighters coming out of France are doing so well right now. What are your thoughts on the rise of MMA in France?
Qu'est-ce que je pense? Ça, c'est il y a de plus de Français à l'UFC qui sont très actifs aussi. Il y a Fares d'ailleurs qui combat dans la même carte que moi. Très bon combattant.
Yeah, since 2020, legalization of MMA in France, the journey has been just incredible. There's so many good fighters coming up the rank in the UFC and outside of the UFC, coming from the amateur rank, coming into the professional realm. There's even Fares, who's fighting. He was a very good fighter. He's fighting on the same card as me. So I'm very impressed by all the French who have a lot of talent, and I'm pretty sure they're going to be shining in every MMA event through the world.
Is it perhaps a goal for you to be the first French champion?
The goal is to be UFC champion, not necessarily to be the first. If I'm the first, that's good, and people will follow my steps. But if I'm the second, it means there is 2 belts, so it's even better. So, the goal is just to be the UFC champ.
Absolutely. Do you feel that a win against Israel Adesanya will put you in that number 1 contender spot?
Bien sûr, sans aucun doute. Je enchaîne les combats.
Of course, without any doubt. I mean, I've been fighting 4 guys in a year, 2 top 5, 2 top 10. With the win, must be me fighting for the championship belt.
Finally, how does this fight differ from the others? What does it take to beat Israel Adesanya in your mind, without obviously giving too much away?
Qu'est-ce qu'il est nécessaire pour battre Israel Adesanya? Ça va être beaucoup le mental. Ça va être beaucoup le mental, ça va pas être un...
I think it's going to be pretty much mental. He's going to be very well prepared. I'm going to be very well prepared. We're going to come prepared and we're going to come to fight. And at one point, one of us is going to want to it's not forgive. What's the word? Will be to one of us will want to. Des matins comme ça. Abandonner, normalement, c'est forgive. Abandonner. You know, at one point, one of us will not want to fight anymore. And it's just going to be, you know, I'm younger, hungrier, fresher. I think it's going to turn in my favor.
Nice. Well, all the very best. Even though we're here in New Zealand and Israel Adesanya is based here, this is a fight that everyone wants to see and watch, and to see how you perform up against a former champion and see how far you can take it in the middleweight division as well. So all the best of luck.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So we've heard from both the guys now, Dan, and you did touch on, you know, that he would have been preparing for Israel Adesanya, you know, long before this fight was ever announced. What are you expecting to see in this fight? People are talking about it being a striking fight, but we do know that people think that there's this blueprint with City Kickboxing fighters in terms of taking people to the ground. So where do you see this fight going, perhaps?
Yeah, you'd have to expect at some point Imavov is going to try and drag Israel to the ground. And if there's any takeaways from the Strickland and Dricus fights versus Israel, is make it ugly. Imavov has really got to get out there, pressure him and make this fight ugly and push a pace. It's 5 rounds. He needs to put it on. That's where the other two had success. Strickland and Dricus had success against Israel. It was when they made the fight ugly. But yeah, Israel is looking really sharp coming into this one. His fitness is higher. You know, a lot of that muscle mass that he put on has kind of been conditioned properly this camp, and he's looking sharp.
And we have always spoken about, ahead of an Israel Adesanya fight night, we've always spoken about the strength of his mind, his, you know, the psychological strength that he has coming into a fight. Nassoudine's quite quiet himself. He just goes about his business, doesn't really talk smack talk or anything like that.
You got to watch this quiet.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to talk to you about. I don't really take you as one of those quiet type of...
Me, no, got a mouth on me.
But what do you think about that side of things, where sometimes it can get quite mouthy ahead of a Israel fight? It might not be the case for this one.
Yeah, Imanov's like a really respectful guy, and as far as I know, Israel's been pretty respectful himself coming into this fight. He's got a lot to prove that he belongs. He's defending his spot. He's got a hungry young contender coming in to take his spot, coming in to look for a title shot. So he's there defending it. There's no point getting in a verbal exchange with this guy. He just needs to go out there, perform well, and get himself back in title contention.
Dan, one thing that stands out to me in this head-to-head is the reach of Israel Adesanya. We know that he likes to use that reach to his advantage. And although Nassourdine Imavov usually does have that benefit when he is versing other fighters, he doesn't really use it. He fights a little bit more compact. How much of a benefit is this for Israel Adesanya, the reach factor?
Yeah, obviously we'd like to see Israel at range doing what he does, nice and long, moving. He packed on a lot of muscle like the last 2 fights, coming into those last 2 fights. And I feel like they really kind of weighed him down, slowed him down, and he wasn't able to keep that same volume, but he's trimmed down a lot. He's really leaned out this camp, and that volume is back, that fitness is back. And so he's going to be able to operate from that distance, from that long range, mixing his punch, kicks, knees for the 25-minute duration. I don't think he's going to slow down a single bit. Imavov, he likes to plant his feet and kind of plod through. We've seen in the past that's where Israel really does his best work. Those plodding guys, those heavy guys, the Paulo Costas, who try to walk through his volume and underestimate the power that he has. But Imavov is a really powerful puncher. If he can get past that range, Israel's going to have to watch out for those heavy punches. And then also he's going to be mixing in the clinch. That'll be his path to victory, is to punch his way past Israel's range, force him against the clinch, and try to wear him down to the body and the head with strikes. Once they do get against the cage. But obviously Israel is to stay out in the open, stay in the middle of the cage, and to just really start just touching him off and wearing him down.
Absolutely. And it says a lot about Imavov's confidence to, you know, have that shorter distance. We saw it with Jared Cannonier. how he was quite happy not to take punches, but happy to be in that red zone.
Yeah, well, Cannonier's another guy that likes to plant his feet and kind of plod forward and throw powerful punches. And I feel like if both guys are doing that, which happened in that fight, one of them is going to go down at some stage or another. But this is a very different fight. Cannonier and Israel are kind of polar opposites in terms of striking. It's very hard to expect the same result.
Now, head-to-head, we have spoken about what this fight means for Israel Adesanya in terms of his climb to get back to a title fight. But what does this mean for a fighter like Nassourdine Imavov? He's been in the UFC since 2020. As we mentioned, he's fought those top 10 guys with success. What does this mean for him?
I feel like this fight for him is life-changing. Israel is one of the biggest superstars that the UFC has right now still. He's still one of the biggest names that the UFC has. Not only is their title contention on the line for Imavov, but it's a chance and an opportunity to make himself a star. You can look at what happened to Sean Strickland. The win over Israel made him a star. Look at what happened to Dricus. Defeating Israel Adesanya made him a star. You'd have to think that for Imavov is still a possibility.
Absolutely. And you just saying that has reminded me of how big Israel Adesanya is in the UFC. And outside of New Zealand, I don't know if the New Zealand, audiences, fans sometimes quite understand the magnitude that if you fight Israel Adesanya, you're basically setting yourself up.
Oh, I've travelled with the guy multiple times and it is incredibly difficult. I actually love travelling with it because then no one asks me for a picture. People just leave me alone if I travel with Israel. But yeah, like this guy, when he leaves the country, like he's a global star. He's not just famous and well known in New Zealand. Like a lot of people, like he's a global superstar. You can go with him to America. You can go with him to England. Like he's going to be recognized all around the world. He's traveling with bodyguards and security teams and stuff like that. He is a huge star.
Yeah, absolutely. And then when we think about that, that's where people like Nassourdine Imavov are doing their research. Like he said in his interview, he made his debut in 2020, but has long been studying to face someone like Israel Adesanya because at that time he was the pinnacle, but he still is. So how much of a benefit is that or a disadvantage for Israel Adesanya who has all these guys researching him and he's the bar?
Yeah, he just has to be who he says he is. Like he says that he's still the champion. He has that championship mentality and that championship skill set. So he just has to go out there and prove he is who he says he is.
Absolutely. Look, the co-main event at UFC Fight Night this weekend, Magomedov versus MVP. I wanted to get your thoughts on what you thought about that fight too, because they have some pretty spectacular, unorthodox performances themselves.
Yeah, I love that fight. This is definitely going to be, I don't think we're going to see much of the ground in in this fight. It's definitely going to be a striking fight. Traditional kickboxing versus like a taekwondo karate background in MVP. I think it's going to be a lightning matchup. MVP, you should grapple this guy. Like he is lightning on the feet. He can cover space better than anyone else in that division. I'm excited for this one.
Also featuring on this card when we talk about Anzacs, Kaan Ofli. He's making a bounce back after, not getting across the bar in the final of The Ultimate Fighter, but he's been at City Kickboxing preparing for this fight. Your thoughts on him?
Yeah, he's looking incredible. He's coming in for his UFC debut, I believe. Kaan, he put him on the same card as Israel. They're training at the same gym. They've gone through the exact same processes. And he's adapted to our system at City Kickboxing really well. And I'm expecting very big things from his UFC debut. He's fighting at featherweight. And man, he's in shape. He's got a 12-pack that I'm a bit jealous of. Maybe put my McDonald's down when I started seeing that boy get in shape.
No, he's great motivation indeed, but exciting times. So Fano, this weekend you're going to have to set your alarms a little bit early. The main card starts at 6 a.m, but the first fight starts at 3 a.m. because of course this action is all live and direct from the kingdom, from Saudi Arabia. So it's a very early start, but we won't want to miss that. All the action is on ESPN as it is a UFC Fight Night, but please do not miss it. And we will be here next week for sure to break down all the action. Dan Hooker.
6 a.m.
6 a.m. 3 a.m. if you're catching.
But I can't get up that early. I just won't check the news before I watch it.
Yeah. Phones off or flight mode.
I'll get up at 10 and then...
You can replay it. Put it on record. You can put it on record on Sky. So.
Selling my Sky now?
Got to do my bit. But Fano, thank you so much for joining us. And we'll be back to wrap it all up next week. Hei ko nā mai. Well, joining us now on UFC on Sky is UFC's newest featherweight, Kaan Ofli. Kia ora, Kaan, and welcome to the show.
Kia ora. How are you?
I love it. I love the kia ora. Who taught you that?
Hey, I've spent a few months now in New Zealand, so it's brushing up.
Love it. We love a convert. Those are our favorite. Look, let's start there. Let's start with your time in New Zealand, because I know with this fight, it's your UFC debut. So, you know, there is a bit of a spotlight on you, but also the fact that you've been training at City Kickboxing. But, you know, what a lot of people may not know is that this isn't your first rodeo, that you've been training in Auckland. So talk to us about finding a home with City Kickboxing and preparing for these big fights.
Yeah, so I've had 2 other camps at City Kickboxing, and I've had some great performances post that training camp, and they were only 3 or 4 weeks the last few times. So this time round, I've spent my whole camp at City Kickboxing. I think it was about 9 weeks total. So, you know, I had a big camp, and everything went amazing. The whole coaching, staff and all my training partners were great, and I couldn't have asked for anything else.
You know, CKB have a little experience training some featherweights. Obviously, while you were there, the former champion steps into the gym as well. Did you manage to rub shoulders with him a little bit and have any conversations with him?
Yeah. Me and Alex are good friends. We've trained together before a few times also, but I wasn't expecting him to come in, so it was nice to feel his energy and have his presence around. It was really good.
So you're over there in Saudi Arabia right now, right? And
Yes.
you know, all the hard work, I'm assuming, is done, and now it's just getting yourself ready. What is the feel like on the ground over there? And have you been there before?
No, this is my first time in Saudi Arabia. I fought in the region in UAE, in Abu Dhabi, so a bit similar, but we're on the outskirts at the moment, staying with Izzy, and obviously we're not doing too much right now. We're just training and resting and recovering, weight cut and all that. So doing all our media obligations. But yeah, I got a little bit of energy yesterday when I was at the fighter hotel, just starting with the media and all that. So over the next couple of days, that's going to build up.
Nice. And I mentioned to you before we started that you're looking happy, you're looking calm and relaxed. And the last time we spoke, this is what you wanted. This is what you wanted, a chance in the UFC. The last time we spoke, you were fighting on The Ultimate Fighter, obviously, and you were even, buzzing with that. What is it like now that you've actually, signed the dotted line, you're in the UFC, preparing for your debut?
Like this is everything that I asked for, really. Not everything goes exactly your way in life, but be careful what you wish for. And I believe I've got it and I've earned it. And not only that, I'm opening up the main card, and that usually means fireworks. That usually means 2 guys setting the tone. So I'm super grateful to have this opportunity. Super grateful to be with the team over here. Izzy being the main event. This is all an amazing experience, and I couldn't have asked for anything else.
And opening the main card is also a reflection of what the UFC have seen in you as well. I'm guessing that they know, they can put their confidence in you to open it up with a good show, despite it being your debut.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't know how often that happens, someone debuting and opening up the main card, but yeah, they obviously see potential in me. They see something in me, so that's cool. Yeah.
How has it been going through, how you said it was, this long camp, working with the CKB coaches and preparing for someone like Muhammad Naimov, who has a bit of experience in the UFC now, but really breaking things down and getting a working game plan together?
Yeah, my fight name is Genghis, so I need to embrace my tactical side. And I feel like I can get that with working with Eugene and the other guys and the other coaches at City Kickboxing. So, we've been working a particular strategy. We've been sharpening up certain tools, so that's why I'm feeling calm, because I feel prepared. That's all I can ask for. I'm not really thinking about the outcome. I'm just calm and ready, and I'm just excited to show a good performance.
Yeah, and you can see that, like I said. So what do you take away from this experience with City Kickboxing? Because yes, there's amazing coaches, they've got the resources, they've got schedules, and their way of going about breaking down fighters. But then you throw in the mix these high pedigree fighters with a work ethic like no other. What have you made of that work ethic and those processes alongside fighters like, as you say, Israel Adesanya?
Yeah, that's another element that I actually love, because everyone is up for that, is up for the workload, is up for the intensity. But that's what I thrive in. So when I feel that, I actually feel like I'm in the right place. Otherwise, I feel like I'm not doing enough. So it's a perfect balance of technical strategy, work ethic, and all that. So yeah, moving forward, I'll be in Melbourne training at Absolute MMA, but I will be doing a lot of my camps out of City Kickboxing. So I believe moving forward for the rest of my career, I don't see anywhere else besides Melbourne and New Zealand as my home.
And how cool is that? How cool that on our side of the planet, we're able to do that, right? And bang with the best and get these great results.
Exactly. And I've traveled around now, so I've been around to a few different locations in America and PI and Vegas and all that. And it all just confirms to me, you know what, like, we've got it good at home. You know what I mean? We've got it good. We know what we're doing. We're so capable. We're so talented. We have all the resources that we need. So yeah, Anzac's united, and let's take over the world.
I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about home, though. You've taken a lot of time away from Melbourne, and obviously all your loved ones are there. I'm not sure if you've been able to dip in and out at all, or if your sole focus has been, here in Auckland, New Zealand. But how has that aspect of things been?
Yeah, I sacrificed a lot this camp. I haven't seen my wife in about 10 weeks. She'll be here in a few days, so it'll be nice to see her. But, I spent Christmas training, I spent this whole camp sacrificing. I spent the last 9 weeks sleeping on a mattress on the ground, so this is, this is an important fight to me. And I want to, I mentioned it before, but this is almost like an apology to myself. And I want to make sure that I go out there and I show everyone what I'm capable of.
Talk to us a little bit about your opponent as well, and perhaps what we can expect to see come Sunday morning New Zealand time.
Yeah, he's an experienced athlete. He's got a Taekwondo background, so he likes to do some flashy spinning, but he also likes to wrestle too. So wherever the fight goes, I believe, this fight we're going to see a little bit of everything. The fans can expect fireworks. They can expect striking, grappling, wrestling. You're going to see it all. Like I said, I've prepared for him and I know what to expect from him. So, I believe he's like high ranked in top 25 or something like that. So I'm looking forward to the opportunity to fight someone that's experienced in the UFC on my debut. So I can climb them rankings as fast as possible.
I'll leave it at that. I know you've got plenty to do in terms of media and the week ahead, but so very excited and really feel really proud of you. You put all your eggs in this basket and it's all paying off for you, and it's just really lovely to see. So all the best for Sunday.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your support. Big love.